Good morning, good afternoon, and good day. This is Kenneth McGinnis, the founder of Weapons Management. Today, I'll be talking to you about the birth of weapons. I am going to give you pretty much my testimony on how weapons manifest into my life and how it came about. However, what I would do is just also to help the testimony gain some legs. I'm going to talk about the history of my life when I was a young child. So, I was born in 1978, and I grew up with both of my parents and my grandmother, and of course both of my grandparents. But my grandmother Claretha Smith, when I was at the age of 8, was actually into finances. She pretty much had her insurance as well as her Series 6 and investment license, and she was pretty much focused on empowering her family and teaching them how to invest. The reason why she was like this is because she knew that she didn't come from a good upbringing, and she wanted to learn for herself so she can invest better. But at the same time, the more she learned, the more she wanted to pass on to the next generation. So she made sure she taught everyone in my family and made sure they had the proper insurance and made sure they had investments. And because of that, she also influenced me when I was a child because she would always interact with my friends and try to teach us a few things, even though we were pretty much little kids. However, that did influence me. And I didn't know how much it influenced me until my parents passed away. My mom, Edith Day McGinnis, which is also known as Bunny, and my father, William George McGinnis, also known as Ducky. My mom passed away when I was 14, and my father died pretty much 6 years later. So that was the start of my life and how things got pretty dramatic and tragic in my life. But if it wasn't for my grandmother, I probably would not be where I'm at today. And here's why. So 1993, as I mentioned, my mom passed away and I was 14. Um, so here I am, 14, little kid, don't know nothing about the world. But because of the education that my grandmother provided my mom and the platform and the portfolio that my grandmother set up for my mom had the proper insurance and at the same time had an investment plan. Of course, when people pass away, they have inheritance. She had a will, so that was turned over to me and my brother. And my grandmother set up an estate so that when we became of age, we were able to utilize the resources how we felt fit. Luckily, the influence of my grandmother, she ensured and made sure that I went to college, and that's what I chose to do. However, on the other hand, my father, when he passed away in 1999, I was already in college. So I already seen the benefits of what it was to have your family properly protected. And I was already utilizing my mom's death benefits to go to college and make sure I graduate debt free. However, when my father passed, he had already remarried. And due to the fact that he had remarried, his wife pretty much claimed everything. And me and my brother pretty much was kicked out of the house. It is what it is. But you know what? The point of me telling you this story is that I am a poster child of what I teach now, but also at the same time, I did not come from a silver spoon. I did not, if you say think I inherited riches, no, I inherited a college fund. I was able to go to college. I did not become a millionaire because my mom died. I pretty much had funds to pay for college. But that is the point of all this, is to make sure that you have a platform, and that's actually what I teach and what I do for everybody, as well as show them strategies. So as I mentioned, I actually went to college and decided to go to school, got a degree in engineering because I liked math. And as me talking about finances, I used my math desires to focus on engineering. I thought it was more economically sound. How come to find out, I love finances better. But as an engineer in a college, I joined RTC and I met my lovely wife, and we both was RTC together. I commissioned, became an civil engineer in the Air Force, and my wife decided to join and become an Intel officer. Here's a picture of her at her Intel graduation, and here is a picture of my mother-in-law and my grandmother. The point here is my grandmother spent pretty much a whole month and did the road trip with us to our new duty location due to the fact that everything not only did she pass down to my mom and to her, she implemented for herself, and she's been retired for over 20 something years now. So she's been able to travel to every location that me and my wife been, every duty station. And here's So even though I was in the military, I continued. My first deployment was in Iraq. This is just confirmation of me being in the military and serving my time. And at the same time, I also went to Iraq on my fourth deployment, and that was the end of my active duty career. Now, here's the point of me talking about my military career. The military actually uh, force shaped me out. Pretty much, it's a military word for they fired me. They downsized. That was the when reality hit me that knows no such thing as a secure job, and my desire to learn finances and teach it became more of how do I protect myself. So when I got rifted and got kicked out, there was no due to any illegal things that I've done. It was just that the military had to cut back on manning, and I was included in that cutback. But it opened my eyes. It pulled back the curtains and allowed me to see that I have to figure something out so that I will never be this vulnerable again in my life. And I did have a lot of my church folks when I was in Germany, some elders and pastors that was trying to motivate me because I was kind of down and disappointed with myself and many other and had a lot of interesting and bad emotions. And they would tell me about Joseph being thrown into the ditch, talking about Job, and I just did not want to hear that. And the crazy part is, these elders and pastors were right. It was like I was being thrown into the ditch, to only come to find out that my call was in this industry and I need to focus and learn how to build my own business, which is pretty much why I'm giving you this testimony, because here's a manifestation of this. If it wasn't for that happening, I probably wouldn't have created this business. I still do work. I still have a job, but also have a business too now. So that is the point of me talking about my military career, because at the end of the day, sometimes through hardship, we develop and manifest what we're really called to do, or we eagerly and fight hard to find what we really need to do. And actually, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. But going back to my grandmother, as you can see here, my grandmother also traveled with us to Korea and China, and then she came to Germany, and we spent time with her in London. My grandma's, like I said, been retired for over 20 years. So that is a great example for me to say I want to be in that same position when I meet her time frame, so that I can do the things she's done and more. And so not only have I developed a company, but also have put in place a lot of structures in for myself. And that's actually what I do, and I try to teach. And that was what I've been doing and started. So the way I came up with the term weapons, you would think that why is my company called Weapons Management? Are we selling guns? No, I'm teaching wealth. Uh, Weapons is an acronym. Weapons stands for Wealth, Education, Accumulation, Passive Options. So how did I come up with that? I came up with this when I had a Dave Ramsey class, and I was teaching a class, and I explained to the class that your class that you're in now is only going to teach you behavior and principles. But to get wealth, you have to learn how to you have to learn new strategies. So Dave Ramsey do teach you how to get out of debt, which is one of the best principles we all need to know is get out of debt, because debt is evil. However, after you get out of debt, what do you do? And the year that we got out of debt was 2008, right before the crash. And what did that do to me and my family? It made us terrified of the stock market. So we were afraid to invest in the stock market, and basically we were not accumulating any interest on anything. And I was disappointed in myself when I was rifted. Like I said, when me getting kicked out was the best thing that happened to me, because then I started looking for opportunities, looking for ways to invest, looking for real estate, looking at anything I can do to see what can I do to make my life better, and put myself in a better position to protect myself, so that I will not need for no man to take care of me. And ultimately, when I did those things back in 2015, I started implementing things that were basically, it worked. It was consistent. It was simple, and um, it was basically profitable. And I realized I could teach it to anybody. So when I drew this diagram here, I pretty much taught people and told people that after my principles and your behavior became in a proper order, and then using the scriptures from Proverbs 13 and 1 Chronicles 29, these are things that should upset you and make you think about what are you doing and how and where you should be in life. Ecclesiastes, Why, or should you be on a horse, or should they be on a horse? Who, why are we settling for less, basically? And why is the body of Christ not doing better? And that is one of my war cries, is that we should be doing a lot better than we are, but we're not. And the thing is, probably because we're not being taught how to manage, and we're not holding people accountable. And that is what Weapons does. Weapons is an accountability program that teach people how to manage their resources, to first get out of debt. Then basically you get educated, you accumulate, and you learn how to develop passive income. And what I was showing here on the resource side is that I've actually learned how to develop income in all four quadrants: in employee, investment, business, and self-employment. So ultimately I became a passive / inactive income, which ultimately just accumulates over time. And if you can, the goal is to come to strictly passive income, and then you become financially independent. I'm not there yet, but I do know what I'm doing. And then, of course, the rule 72 is that it helps people understand why debt is bad, but at the same time, how do you get on the other side and earn percentages that are going to be greater than 3%, which is the percentage of inflation. But at the same time, where do you find those vehicles? And the goal is to teach people how to get those vehicles and find things that are making money and getting a good return on investment. But I created this prototype here simply to show a class, and realized that the class that they saw, the pastors that was in this class saw that I had wrote something down that was interesting in some type of model, and they all confronted me that this is something magnificent, I guess, and I didn't see it. And probably looking at this board, no one can see it, but everybody was convinced that what I wrote down here was something powerful, and it was birthed into Weapons, which is now, I have a better diagram which I save for clients, but this is how it was born and how it was birthed in the prototype that helped me develop the format. And then what it concluded to was that I happened to have a graphic designer that was able to help me out, and I gave him my vision on what I was doing, the name of the company, how I want to look that is Christian based, and I wanted to have like charts, graphs showing going up and down, the stock market going up and down. And this is what he came up with. And this logo is now copyrighted. It's been copyrighted for over a year, and I'm excited. And this brand has definitely got me on stage, because once I introduced it at Blessed Life, I instantly got a request to teach on Hickam at the chapel, because it was Christian based, and it was a hit. All my students got shirts and hats, and I taught well over 30 students, and I was excited to introduce this new concept, and that was the introduction of Weapons. And then at that very moment, I realized I actually had something. So I did not look at this and create this because I was looking for this. It literally manifests into my life through a series of events that I was doing with my desire to help people, and morphed into what it is now. And it's only going to morph more. And I'm gonna say not terrified, but I'm more excited / nervous and scared about how far this thing going to go, because I want to make sure I can manage it, because this thing can grow really big and be something ginormous, if I may say. So bottom line is, here's my testimony on how Weapons was created and the birth of Weapons. And I look forward to talking to you and seeing how I can share the blessings with you on what we can do with you in Weapons.